All right. What is up? And welcome to another live stream. Sorry, looking off to the wrong direction here. Just making sure that the stream actually started. Now, many of you probably have already seen the thumbnail to this particular video, and you know that we're going to be looking at adaptive AI presets or AI adaptive presets. This is the one feature that I was really excited for, and I haven't used it. All right. So I just downloaded the pre-release version of the software as it's in beta. So I just want to be very clear. The reason I continue to say that this is pre-release is to be fair to ON1, that this is not the final product. There could be a lot of changes that happen when the full version is released next month. All I want to do is make you aware that the how this works and what it feels like using it, and answer any questions that you may have in reference to the AI adaptive presets. So I don't want to waste too much time talking about any of that. So let me go ahead and get my Stream Deck working here. All right. So I am going to put myself in the lower left-hand corner today because I think that's the best place for me to be, as we're going to look at how the presets are working here, or at least that's my thought. With that being said, here I have what I believe is a wide variety of images that we're going to test this out on. And, based on how well my computer cooperates with me tonight, then we will go through as many of these as we possibly can get through. So with that being said, we'll just start with the first image here. All right. We're going to hit edit, and it's going to open up the actual image. As you can see, it's in the exact same spot that it was demoed, which is the AI adaptive preset over here in the preset section of the photo. All right. So we're going to click on it. We have these categories, and I'm working on obviously a landscape image. So what I'm going to do is see if there's somehow or some way, shape, or form that I can make this make sense. We're going to use the landscape feature here. All right. Now, these are the presets that come inside of ON1. I did not create any yet, but we're going to try that out. So I'm just going to hover over the first one and see what happens to the image here. It's taking a little bit of time for it to render the preview. So I may actually have to click on it just to tell ON1, like, hey, I really want you to render that. But it doesn't look like, let me see if there's a before and after. So it's very subtle. If you look over here, it's actually adding something. So let's try a different preset. Let's try this one, see what happens. Now this one is definitely more drastic overall. And you can see it's adding in these masks, all right? Over here on the right-hand side, you can see that it's adding in the mask, which is why I wanted the video to be over on the left-hand side of my face or whatnot. So here we have the mask that's being prepared. Let's go ahead and open up this one for the foreground. And I'm going to hit the letter O. And this is on a glow filter. So this is adding the glow effect underneath or at the bottom of the image. And it did a pretty decent job at finding that. Now, let's see what it's actually applying to. So by clicking on the mask and coming over to where it says Mask AI, and I'm sorry if this is a little hard to see, it looks like it's picking up the flora, natural ground, water, but it's not picking up the sky or the mountain. Now, depending on where you want this to be inside of your photo, this may be the right thing. Moral of the story, maybe I wanted the glow to actually apply up here. So, it's easy to fix. I can just click on mountain, and this portion of let me go back to the Mask AI. So the sky you can see that there's a red portion like on the left hand side of the mountain that it's not picking up. I think that's okay. I don't know, because you can always just mask that in with a paintbrush. So that is fairly simple. But with one click of the actual preset over here, I was able to get this glow filter added onto my image. And, we can kind of pull this back and really dial it in the way that we want it to be. So here's a before and after with that particular preset. That's something I think we will have to play around with, especially when we build our own presets. We'll see how that works, and I have some fun tests. We'll see if we can get something out of it. Now, what I'm noticing with a lot of these landscape ones, let's see, fall enhancer. If we go before and after. So this is before without the fall enhancer preset on it. This is after with the fall enhancer preset. It's actually making it look pretty good, and I didn't have to do anything other than apply this preset. So I think that as a first look is pretty decent on this image. So let's go ahead and hit cancel. I don't want to save any of this because I want to come back and build my own presets here in a second. Now we have a photo of a bear. And I chose a bear. Actually, I chose a few bears because in the ON1 tutorial, or the ON1, I guess the display of this or whatnot, they had a bear. So I was like, you know what? I want to see what this looks like when you try to use a preset on a bear. So we're going to go AI preset. This time we're going to click on wildlife because I'm pretty sure it's going to pick up this bear as a bear, which I hope it does. So by selecting the bear, selecting the wildlife preset, I'm going to hover over here and see what happens when we go through some of these different presets. I wonder what pop it does. Let's click on effects. We'll hit the before and after, and it looks like it's just masking the bear. So let's hit O, and that's actually doing a pretty decent job. So the AI is finding the bear. Now, he is isolated, but these are pretty in focus. So if you remember my initial criticism, or just my observation, because it wasn't really a criticism, right? In the sneak peek video, they were using backgrounds that were pretty blown out. So I was just saying like, hey, you know what? If the background is blown out, then the AI has an easy job to figure out how to use or how to mask the subject. With that being said, I am actually pretty impressed at how well it is masking the bear. Now, is this a perfect mask? No, but like we're really splitting hairs when you start getting down to areas like this. That's something I think is tolerable. I can absolutely work with a mask like that, especially since I didn't have to paint that out. All right. Now, with that being said, I still have complete control over doing everything else, and we'll see what the mask has here, which it's identifying that there is an animal. There's a bear. We know that the bear is an animal, so that one is pretty good. And if you hear Mr. Waffles in the background, he's getting a little restless. Not entirely sure why he is so restless, but we'll go ahead and close out this particular image, and we'll move on to another one. Now, in a little bit, I am going to start making my own presets so we can really start testing these out. But I just want to see what ON1 is providing as a preset, because that is definitely something we should at least know, right? So I'm going to click on this food photo because there is a food preset. We'll let that load up. You can see that the status bar is loading down here. So we'll go ahead and hit AI adaptive preset, and we'll click on food. So let's take a look here and see how these work out. And I'm just going to click on them instead of hovering over. Let's go before. Trying to get the preview to turn off and turn it back on, turn it off. Looks like it's a little bit of banding right here. And again, pre-release software, so I'm not criticizing that. I'm just noticing that there was a little bit of a banding issue going on there. I don't think that's in the photo, but let's see what the mask or what effects are being used and how the mask is picking up those particular effects. All right. Just closing out some windows here, see if I can save some bandwidth on my computer. All right. Let's come back over here. And the preview's off. Doesn't look like it is, but I guess it was. All right. So now we'll go ahead and take a look at the tone enhancer. Click on the mask, food AI. This looks like it's all over the place. So maybe that's where the banding issue is. It looks like it's having a hard time picking up all of the food. But we'll try this on a different photo to see if it is just because of the fact that, you know, the tacos are maybe a little hard for it to pick up. It is picking up that there's a person in there, or at least a hand. So, you know, again, not perfect, and I think that's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's just something that I think is interesting. And then, of course, we have the dynamic contrast, which this appears to only... Now, that's an interesting mask. So there you go. There's something to be aware of. And I'm just trying to see if... So that banding issue was actually part of the mask. It's inside of this particular portion of the mask. So it wasn't a banding issue in the photo. The mask just decided to do something like that. So maybe, you know, and again, this is pre-release software, so it can absolutely improve over time. So just keep that in mind. But that did cause a banding issue there with the tone enhancer that's supposed to be popping that. So let's go ahead and try this one and see if, and it looks like it's using the exact same mask. Although on this one, I don't see that same banding issue. So if I hit O, okay. So the mask is blurred a little bit more. And I wonder if that's because the feather is all the way up on this mask. So when we go to create a mask for ourselves, we'll take a look at if you want to make a harsh transition or if you want a feather and how that impacts photos overall. I think this is going to take some getting used to when it comes to creating the masks for your images, because if I wanted to go with this bright one, and we'll see if we can solve this by improving the feather. So we'll click on the mask and we'll just pull up on the feather here. It was all the way up, and you know, even pulling it up to 70 solves that problem. If I hit the letter O, you see that it solves that problem, other than the fact that it's not applying the tone enhancer over in this area, which is where there are some tacos. So food for thought. I'm not sure exactly how that's picking up, other than the fact that it's picking up food itself. Oh yeah, food for thought. Ha, that's a pun. All right, there we go. I'm making jokes all day. If photography doesn't work out for me, I could be a comedian. All right, so we'll hit done because we'll just say that we like that one. Ultimately, I think this is good. And so far, I'm not finding too many issues. Like, I think that we can work through this, and I'll kind of hold my thoughts until the end. So the next one, I want to do an architecture one. And I actually chose, you know what, we'll do this one, do this cityscape one. And I chose a few that we're going to test out the adaptive preset for the sky to see how well that works out. So here we are inside of another image. So we'll click adaptive AI, and we're going to click on architecture. And let's see what we can make of this particular photo. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with my city lines. I have no idea what this is. If you know what city line this is, then drop it in the comments section or in the chat. I would be very honored to know if anyone does know. Now, I'm not getting a thumbnail, but it's definitely giving me the preview when I hover over it. And I'm going to find one that I think looks pretty cool. Dramatic, grainy, kind of cool. Like gives that nighttime vibe, even though, because this is like a nighttime photo, right? So let's see. It's thinking. ON1 is thinking. I have the rainbow wheel going, even though it's not showing for you. It is definitely rainbow wheeling over here on my screen. Come on. It's my computer's just trying to chew through everything. So I'm just going to click on one. I think maybe the hovering presets in the live stream is stressing my computer more than it would like to be stressed. So I'm just going to click on one, which is this dramatic sky blur. And because I'm selecting a sky process, it's probably going to give me a little bit of delay. So, but I'd love to know if you're here live, let me know what you think about AI adaptive presets so far. You know, just the first look, if this is something you're looking forward to using. And then if you're watching this in the replay, then drop it in the comment section below. You guys know by now, I check my comments. I do answer the comments, and I love the questions, and I love the comments, the feedback, the conversation. So all of that is great. And I may have to restart ON1 in the event that it just doesn't want to load. And this is just one of the challenges of working in pre-release software. So I don't hold this against the developers. This is to be expected in beta software or pre-release software, however you want to look at it. Since the rainbow wheel, which again, you guys aren't seeing because for whatever reason, it's just showing my mouse moving around, but I definitely have a rainbow wheel, so I can't select anything. Like when I click on effects, it's not actually moving. So let me go ahead. Oh, okay. So I got a preview and then it actually went to effects, but it's not showing me the effects that were supposed to be popping up. So maybe we'll just have to be patient. So now is a good time to answer any of your questions if you have any, or just let me know how your day's going. I mean, it's a live stream, right? We get to do that. Oh, now it wants to zoom in. Okay, at least the rainbow wheel has disappeared from my computer. So now, okay. Oh, what just happened? That building looks really, really weird. Oh, it's using the dynamic contrast. Let me turn that off for a second. Well, that's still... Is that a sky replacement that's in there? Yeah. Okay. So here we have on this architecture building, there's a sky replacement that was going on. And you can see it's definitely got some work to do around here in the buildings. That is not what you probably want in your photo. But in ON1's defense, the gray sky and the gray of the building, those are essentially the same. So, if you have a nice contrast between the sky and whatever your building is, it actually does pretty decent. Now, this sky doesn't match the tonality of the overall image, but just food for thought, something to be considered or to consider. Now, I think it was taking so long because it was trying to mask in the sky. So I'm going to stay away from doing that on this particular image. Moral of the story, let's see. We'll just go with dramatic black and white. Let's see if we can keep the sky from being a thing, because I don't think we need that sky, right? And let's go back to the effects. We'll take a look over here at the mask that it's doing. So architecture, and then there's something that is masked in on the sky. So what effect is this? That's the mask. Okay, so this is the dynamic contrast that's being applied to the image. If I 50% that, give or take, it comes out pretty decent. I don't know how well that's coming through on YouTube compression, but all is well. So we'll go ahead and close this one out. And then let me see, what does this one have for the sky? So this one is a tone enhancer. And if you open this up, you drop the sky, you can see it's masking the sky, but architecture, this is what it's picking up, and that is something to work with. And it even picked up the little tree right in the front. So I think that'll be all right. Let's go ahead and hit done. We'll leave that at black and white. I don't think I'm going to try to come back to editing the sky on that one. Let's do a portrait. We haven't done a portrait, so we'll do this one. And I want to show you on a simple photo, and then I don't think I have any difficult photos to display for today, but I'm going to demonstrate on a more simple photo. So this one, I think we can count this as a studio portrait. She's clearly outside, but because the background is fairly simple, we can probably use a studio portrait preset. So if I click on this, in one click, I get her masked out, hitting the letter O, thinking that that was going to do something for me, but it didn't want to play ball. Let's hit O now. There we go. So this is actually a phenomenal mask. You can see that the AI, it does work. You just have to test it out on your photos. So I think this brings me to actually a fair point, is that when you get this software, if you so choose to pick this software up, don't think of it as a magic bullet to all of your photos. I think it's going to work on a lot of your photos, but just like we have to refine our workflow and our processes, the same thing has to happen with your work inside of ON1, even though you're using an AI tool to manipulate the photo. So please don't think that you're going to get this software and it's instantly going to make your photography better. I don't want anyone to get sold on that hype about this software. Instead, see this as a tool and an opportunity to speed up your workflow, knowing that you're going to have to do some sort of editing. But this is an adaptive preset. It found her, it found the background. And if I were to click on here, you can see it's just the person, and then it even picked up that there's architecture in the background. So that one, a fairly simple thing to work off of. We'll go ahead and hit done. I think that actually looks pretty cool. So if you are a portrait photographer, maybe this is a time for you to start thinking about how you photograph, and maybe it'll change the way that you capture the images. So that way you know what you can do with them when you get back into the editing room or inside of ON1, and you're like, okay, did I do a 3/4 shot with a very busy background, or did I do a 3/4 shot with a less busy background? So that's something to take into consideration. Let me take a second to look at the chat here. Tony, what's up, my man? I'm curious if you had a different city scene image, if it would choose different skies or replacement. Here, let me go ahead and send that. So, okay, yes. The answer is I do have some more cityscape images. I have this particular cityscape that's sitting right here. So let's go ahead and take a look at it and see what happens. We'll go ahead and remove that from the stream real quick. And thank you for the question, Tony, because I like it when we can collaborate. So if I select here and click on the architecture, so be prepared for the rainbow wheel. I'm just going to go ahead and try, we'll try dramatic new sky. We'll try that because I think this is going to take some time. The sky swap AI on my computer, at least, it always takes a little bit of time for it to calculate and decipher what's the sky and what's not the sky. Let me know in the comment section what it's like when you use Sky Swap AI in Photo Raw 2022, because for me, it always takes some time for ON1 to figure out what the sky is and what it isn't. And again, I have the rainbow wheel again, so you can see my mouse, or at least I believe you guys can see my mouse, but I have the little rainbow wheel on my screen, which is telling me that I need to wait. So we'll continue waiting here, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Tony left one already, so don't be shy in the comment section. Please drop your questions. And I'm not like some ON1 spokesman or anything like that. I am an affiliate. So, if you do want to pick up ON1 and you haven't already pre-ordered it, you can use FreeWillPhotos20 as a coupon code at the checkout, and you'll be able to save 20% as you are checking out. So that's really cool that ON1 offered that for the viewers and the community here. I'm going to get a sip of water real quick. And while this continues to think it through a little bit, I don't want to get on my high horse or anything, but criticizing the software as a pre-release, I definitely have to mention that this is a pre-release program. Hopefully it won't move this slow in the actual post-release, or like when they release it. But as of right now, it is moving pretty slow on my computer. And what I realized is part of it is probably my fault that it moves slow on my computer. The other part is that there are some resource intensive things inside of ON1 that really revs the CPU on almost every computer, because I have played with this on my MacBook Air, which is, my favorite mobile editing device, and the CPU hits 300%. Now, how the math on that works, I don't know. These M1 chips, they do some things that are different than an Intel-based chip. So I have little to no idea what that's doing or why that works that way. But man, sorry that this is moving up. And then there's the crash. So let me just shut down all of this. You guys are looking at my desktop. That's after I installed it. So I got to open it up ON1 again. Again, like I mentioned before, this is pre-release software. So, we'll be patient with ON1. I'm just going to move it to me. I'll submit the crash report, because that's just the way it is. Sometimes you overwork the pre-release software. So let's go ahead and jump back in. It opened right back up with no issue. So we'll go ahead and turn this back on and see if we can make this cooperate with us. So I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and look at that, we're starting to get some previews here. So I think I clicked on Dramatic New Sky. Probably should have clicked on one that had a little thumbnail for me, but you know, I want to take a chance. I want to see what we can do to stress the system. And you know, I think that this will be representative of a lot of people who maybe you just don't have the fastest working computer. Now, I would like to think that I have a fast working computer, but clearly, even with the M1 chip, 16 gigabytes of RAM on the Mac Mini, I'm sitting here with the rainbow wheel of slowpokeness. And that's why you guys get to hear me ramble. But if it doesn't work this time and if it crashes the system, then I'll have to test this off the live stream and then just come back and give you guys a report, because I don't think this is much fun in watching, hearing me talk about something that clearly is not cooperating. So let me see. I think the last time I clicked on effects and it kind of, but you know, the Sky Swap AI, it always causes some issues for me. So this is not a surprise to me that it's slowing my computer down. Again, I'd love to know how it's working on anyone else's computer. And for a reason, it does not want to cooperate with me. So we will give this a little bit more time, and then I may have to just shut it down, because I definitely want to get to creating my own presets just to see what that's like and sharing that experience with you guys. Again, I haven't used this at all so far, and yeah. So I'm going to get a sip of water while this thinks, and if it doesn't work out, then I'm just going to force quit it. Okay, so I got to do the force quit. And of course, it won't let me get there. Come on. Maybe I am at the mercy of waiting for it to for it to render. But man, that's the challenge of doing these things live is, you know, you wait for, oh, okay, maybe it just rendered. Okay. All right. So yeah, it just takes some time on my computer for sure. Which I will not be doing this on the live stream anymore, because I just want to make sure that, I'm a good steward of your guys' time since you're hanging out with me. But if I hit the letter O, you can see it chose architecture. And what I'd like to note is, if you're not familiar with the type of, what's the word I'm thinking of? The type of filters that are in ON1, because there's no way for you to tell what filter is actually being applied to any of these adaptive presets that come with ON1, right? So if you're not familiar with them, like I know that this one here is the dynamic contrast, because, I've used it, right? So if you're not familiar with it, then when you open up these filters, because they're named with whatever the AI tool is. So if I click on this, and I click on the mask, you can see that it's named after the AI super select or whatever it may be. It's named after that. So if it's saying that this is architecture, then that's what you end up with as the name for the tool. So that could be a little bit of a confusing thing for you, something for you to chew on. Maybe your homework, should you choose to accept, is to open up filters and give them random names. So, if you open up one like the lens blur, right, you know that you're on the lens blur as opposed to the blur filter, because the lens blur has more features built into it, whereas the blur feature only has the one. The lens blur has what, 4 different fields here, or I guess 3 separate fields. So, take that for what it's worth. I just wanted to point out the fact that it will be named based off of whatever the AI is. And that looks like for the masking. Now, we'll see how this works when we create our own AI adaptive presets. If it renames those particular filters after the Super Select AI. Let me see. Mr. Tony here says, I don't do sky replacements in general. I was just curious because one seemed to have selected some unusual skies for its replacement source based on the image you were editing. Yeah, so the sky, I'll have to test how the AI sky replacement works off of the broadcast, just because you see how slow it makes the computer, and I don't think that'll be fun for viewership. But what I'll do is I'll test how the sky replacement works if it is choosing the sky that you selected. So let's say it's sunset 1 that you put into your AI preset when you make it. If I click on a different photo, is it going to also use the sunset 1, or is it going to try and find a sky that matches appropriately? My suspicion, or my assumption, is that it's going to use whatever sky I originally programmed into the adaptive preset. And then it's going to take that and put it on my next landscape image. And if I want to change the sky, then I have to go into the sky filter, the sky replace or sky swap AI filter, and change the sky that way. But again, I'm not going to try that on the stream because I think that would be interesting, except for the fact that my computer will not cooperate. I'm almost confident it won't. Now, with that being said, I'm not going to use the adaptive AI on this one, but you see how there's reflections here? That would be interesting to see how the sky swap AI picks up, and especially in an adaptive preset. But that is food for thought. Again, just giving first impressions. Let's go ahead and jump into making a preset. I think that'll be really, really cool. So we'll make a preset on this photo of a burger with a knife in it because, a burger is not a burger unless you put a knife in it. I don't know. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe it's not a thing. But we're not going to actually work off of the adaptive presets here. So there's a few things that I want to test out and see if this is true. So I'm going to share this with you first. The first thing is if I create a preset and I'm assuming Super Select AI, so I'll turn this on just to see, or actually I won't turn that on. We'll go to add a filter. And so this is choosing food and architect, right? Or architecture. That's what it's picking up. My assumption is that if I create a mask with one of these two things, it's going to save it as an adaptive preset over here in the food category. And then when I find it, I'll be able to put that into another image of food, which we have a few images there. So let's go ahead and create a really wonky filter because I want to make sure that this kind of stands out. So my favorite thing to do is just antique it. Let's make the burger look old. All right. So we're going to go ahead and click on food and we'll hit apply. So hopefully it's only, oh, okay. So it's painting it out of the food. So we'll make, I think that actually works pretty well, right? If you don't want the antiquing look on the food, we'll go that way. That's probably more of a realistic thing. Now we'll click here and hit the little drop down. I am looking to see if there are any new filters or options built in, which I'm not seeing them. So let's hit the little drop down and we want to apply the mask. Let's see. And then we'll just call this FWP Food AI 1. And let's go to the categories. Okay. So there is the category of adaptive presets. All right. So it's not, to the best of what I can see here, it is not instantly dropping it into the food category. Instead, what it looks like you have to do is choose where you want to save that preset. So for the sake of testing, I'm going to go to my Free Will Photos preset testing ground, and I'm just going to drop it in the base folder there, and we'll hit save. All right. So now I have that preset saved inside of my folder. So we'll go ahead and hit cancel because I don't think I want to save it that way. Now, notice that the mask there was labeled as antique. We're going to open up this photo, which clearly has way more food on the image. Sorry, had to clear my throat. It clearly has way more food on the image. Let's see how my AI preset worked out. Now, really quickly, I'm going to click AI. I just want to see if it may be saved in there, and it didn't. So that's perfectly fine. So we know that it does not automatically save to the food AI preset. Instead, we'll have to come over here, and I need to find that preset because I just dropped it into this folder. And as you can see, I don't have the best organization skill in this particular folder. Here it is, FWP Food AI 1. So if I click that, because I actually want to apply this one to the image, let's see what happens here. So did it apply? Yeah, the antique effect is there. So the good news is this is applied based off of whatever we named, and we're going to test that out again. But because I didn't change this from antique filter and I left it as that, it is my understanding that the antique filter name will stay, or whatever you name this as when you save the preset, that's what it's actually going to save as. So when we click here, we can see that this one is only applied to the food, but this, I don't think Super Select AI is picking up anything more than the food. So, well, no, there's definitely more that it's picking up. So let's hit our, we'll go back out here to add filter, but it's only picking up food for this image. So obviously there's a little bit of a disconnect between Super Select AI and the way that the AI mask works. AI mask doesn't seem to pick up on every single thing because it's trying to give it a name, whereas Super Select AI, sorry about that, looks like it's just picking up on categories. I don't know, or not categories, on luminance values, but maybe even that's not correct. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not a genius at this, just observations. All right. So with that being said, we will go ahead and test out another preset. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit cancel because I don't think that's what we want. And actually, let me hit cancel there and hit O. As you can see, the preset is being applied to everything that isn't the food. So if we come back over here and invert this, which that's actually what we wanted. So I'm sorry. That's how we made the preset, to apply to everything that's not the food. But if you invert it, then you get some stale looking chicken kebab thingies. I wouldn't want to eat that if you put that in front of me. So we're going to hit cancel and we're going to hit OK. And we are going to go to this awesome little orange buggy. All right. And we are going to do something fun here because I think that this deserves some fun. And I chose this image because I believe ON1 is going to recognize this as a vehicle or a car or something. Let's see. If I hit add filter, it recognizes it as transport, which is perfect. So I'm going to select the transport and we are going to go with a replace color. Now I want to change the color from orange to just any other color. So it doesn't really matter what color we go with. So I'm just going to use the target picker and we'll increase the range quite a bit. And let's change the color to, I don't know, we'll go with the blue. And maybe we'll make it a little bit of a darker blue. Guess maybe not. Doesn't want to play that game. So we'll just go with that. Maybe even increase the range. There we go. So we'll say that that looks good. I think that's fine. And I am going to rename this what I want it to be. I'm going to name this color blue. Well, I can't spell. Let's try that again. Color blue. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is hit the save preset and we are going to title this FWP car AI preset. Super good names. And then I'm going to click the drop down chevron and you have to check apply mask. All right. Click in the little bubble. If it's not filled in, I don't believe that the mask is going to take. And then you're going to be disappointed when you try to add an adaptive preset mask and it just doesn't work. All right. So we're going to go ahead and hit save. And now we're going to close this image out because I don't think we need to have a blue car. Now, it's important that you remember that I changed the car color to blue because we're going to go to a completely different car, which is right here. Now, this one is red. All right. This one is red and it is a much cooler car. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. Which car do you think is cooler than, or which car do you think is cooler? This one or the other one? But we're going to go back to my testing grounds, cattywampus folder that's all sorts of jacked up because I don't organize it. It's a testing ground. It's like my sandbox. I just mess around in here. So we have the FWP food. Oh, there's our car preset. Let's go ahead and click on that. And wow, it actually changed the car to blue. Now, not entirely, and that's just the way it is sometimes, but we have a blue looking car, right? So if I come over here to effects, let's see if it kept the name, and it did. So what does that mean for users of this particular AI preset? What I think you need to do is, this is how I am going to test out making my AI adaptive presets. I'm going to click on here and label this. So this is color change, right? Or color replacement. So now, whenever I click on this adaptive preset and I need to start looking through my presets to figure out what's happening, how this is working, I know that the color blue color replacement filter is right here. So as I add more filters, so let's add a border because like what's a car photo without a border? We're going to look at that instantly, like super awesome photo instantly. So we're going to go ahead and I don't think we need to add a mask to this, but why not? Let's try adding man-made ground. Let's see what happens. I don't know. Oh, okay. So I was on paint out and look at that. We got a border that stops right there at the ground. So that could be kind of cool. I don't know, but we're going to call it good. So I'm going to hit the save icon here and we're going to call this FWP car AI preset 2. We're going to come down here to effects. We're going to hit apply masks. All right. And we'll hit save here. Okay. So now we see that over here in my adaptive preset, or in my testing ground, I should say. We're going to hit cancel because as cool as the blue car with a border is, maybe we don't want that. So I have another car that we're going to test this out on. And as you know, I'm not going to try. Originally, I got this photo because I was like, you know what? This would be a great photo to find the sky and the mountain range and some flora and then the man-made road and then the car. It just had all of these ideas in there. But my computer is not cooperating. So for the sake of showing and keeping this as entertaining as possible, I am not going to do that to you. All right. But what we will try is this car, FWP car preset. Let's see what happens here. Now, I don't know why it had that white, or I'm sorry, that blue outline. There we go. I don't know why it's turning. Oh, okay. I do know why it's turning everything blue. Let's go to the effects and let's take a look at that car color blue mask, because this is probably, yeah, check that out. So, oh, wait, I'm on the borders. That's not where I wanted to be. I wanted to be on the car color blue. I don't think that it is identifying there is a transport in here. Yeah, it's not. So that's something that, you know, it's just the way it is, right? If there isn't if the AI can't pick up the fact that there is a car, which, you know, I feel like there's enough information for the AI to determine if a car is in the frame or not, because if you look over here, there's definitely some tire looking things, and then, you know, I don't know how the AI is recognizing the body of a vehicle, but I think there's enough information for it to determine that there is a car. Not saying that this is bad. I'm just showing you how this works. Again, this is all pre-release software, so it can improve, and that's perfectly fine. And it can improve over the years, right? This is the first installment of adding this particular feature. So not knocking on one. I'm just showing you what happens when we try some stuff out here. All right. Now, the man-made road is also pretty interesting because it's definitely identifying that this is man-made road over here on the far left of the image, but down here, it's not picking that up, and that should be on the paint out. Now, it's also picking up some other things. So I'm going to click on there and hit the letter O. Everywhere that you see black is where it's painting out that particular mask, right? In the center, you would expect it to not be painted out, but because it's not identifying that this is road down here, we're running into the issue of the border still being there. So definitely some things that will need to be worked out, but food for thought that if you get a photo and it does not identify the fact that there isn't a car inside of the frame, then you're going to run into issues like this where it covers up the entire frame. All right, because the replacement of the color has to be on there. All right, so if I click there, now we get this cool photo. I think it's pretty cool, but that is food for thought. So let's see if we can create some more presets. and just kind of play around with this and have a good time. You know what? We'll go back to our good friend the bear, because ON1, when they created their demo, they used a bear, so that's the reason why I'm using the bear. I think it's cool, just to use a bear. All right, so there's that. We'll hit add filter, and let's add a texture to the background. I think that'll be fun. So we're going to click on animal, and we'll click on texture, and we're going to add, like, I don't know, we'll invert this, right? Because we don't want it on the actual bear. So we'll invert that, and I should probably, we'll try it this way. Let's see if ON1 keeps up with it. My thought process is, if I didn't select animal and I didn't leave this on paint out, then it may have a hard time when it creates the preset mask. But that's not a very interesting texture background, so we're going to make a pretty cool background. You know what? I'm going to use we'll do a wall. Yeah, let's do a wall. All right. And then instead of using subtle, we're going to use normal, or nah, we'll use replace. Yeah, we'll go with replace. We're just going to make this like super bold and in your face. Like we're cutting out the bear. All right. Which, by the way, that's a pretty good mask. All right. The background, if I come back over here, the background is pretty blown out, but it's also not so blown out or out of focus, in focus, whatever you want to call it, that it couldn't keep up with the mask. Like the mask couldn't keep up, or the AI couldn't keep up. So kudos to ON1 for the mask. That to me is phenomenal. That's just a personal opinion. I'd love to know your comments in the comment section. Now, I'm going to go ahead and save this mask down here, or save this, not the mask. I'm going to save the preset, and we're going to call this FWP animal, public spelling, not my strong suit, by the way. AI preset. Close enough. I think that's preset. We'll hit save. All right. So now that that is saved, we'll go ahead and hit done, because, like, isn't that cool? I have a bear just out there hanging out. I think it's cool. Now we'll come over to this bear photo. I think we already seen how well it works, the AI adaptive preset. And mind you, I'm not making real presets right now. I'm just showing you the power and kind of how this works. All right. But if I wanted this bear on a wall, boom, it's done, son. Now, obviously not perfectly, because this is still very see-through. So what we would have to do, and I guess I have the opacity at 92. If I put that up to 100, there. Now, so I probably made the preset with it at less than 100. You got to be at 100% opacity, otherwise you're going to be able to see through it. But, now I have a bear mounted to a wall. He doesn't look so intimidating now. Kidding. It's still a bear. If you see a bear, go the opposite direction. So there is creating a preset for animals and all these other things. So what is the verdict for ON1 Photo Raw AI adaptive presets? I think that there is absolutely a use case for this particular feature. Is it something that you're going to run to all the time? Probably not. But if you have been keeping up with the channel, you know that I'm photographing a wedding this Saturday. I plan to change the way that I photograph and make my portraits in a way that I think will work well with the adaptive presets, which makes it a lot faster for me to edit through images and get those back to the client, which is what I was saying in the first place, that this is going to be a time saver and really help out with photographers who need to get photos turned quick and you don't want to sit in the editing room. So just for the sake of not having to go through and mask everything all perfectly and finely, I think that this is going to be a well-received feature that we have the ability to use. So I would love to hear your thoughts. That's just, my 2 cents, my thoughts on the AI adaptive presets. And when the final release comes out, I promise you, I'm going to do a more definitive review and be more critical about how that preset, how it works, and, things that can be improved upon. Clearly, there are some things that can be improved upon, and you just have to be careful with what type of photos you're creating your presets from, because if it's something that is a car and it's identifying it as a transport, and then you go to another photo and that's not picking up as a transport, you're going to run into some issues. Now, you know what? I do want to show, or at least troubleshoot, how I think we can solve that issue. So let's just jump back into this photo, because this is the one that gave us the issue when we added that preset, right? So I just want to see if there is a workaround to solving that problem once it loads. All right, there we go. Let's go back to the preset background. And we'll hit AI. And, I think this is good because this is like real life. You're going to run into issues using tools. So if this happens to you, let's see if we can use Super Select AI on the color blue filter, because I think Super Select AI will work. And what we'll do is we'll invert this, so that way it's not going anywhere. We'll hit the letter K and grab Super Select AI, click on the van, and then we'll just, okay, so Super Select AI does not actually tie into the mask that way. So in order for this to really work, let's hit, so we'll probably have to go replace color and then hit done. And it didn't actually add the filter for us. So that does not seem to be the case that we'll have that to work. So essentially, what I think you're going to end up having to do, and I'll test it out here as well, and this is just food for thought. I'd love to hear your guys' comments on what you think you could do. So what I'm going to do is hit the little drop down arrow for more, and then I'm going to hit Save New Style, and we will call this blue car. Hit save. So now I can close that out, hit the letter K to get Super Select AI activated, click on the car, come up here to the top of the top, select the replace color, and you see how I have blue car? So now I can click that, and then I'll go ahead and hit on the letter Z. Sorry if you're hearing some knocking on the wall. I think my neighbors are nailing in a picture or something at 7:50 at night. Whatever. Okay. What just happened? Sorry, I got distracted. Let me just do this real quick. Hyperspeed. That's what I'm doing. All right. Replace color. Blue car. Yeah. I want to add that. Come on. You can do it. All right. Now, why did it go to... Oh, because I had that name color blue replacement. So that's why. That makes sense. I was about to say, how did it know that that was what it was supposed to be named? All right. Nonetheless, now I have a blue car in the frame using Super Select AI to make that happen. So, yes, you may need to save... And you know, this just my brain is spinning here, thinking of all of the ways that we can use this to make this make sense in our editing. So what I think we're also going to have to do, or at least what I would recommend doing, is every time that you make a filter, you create a style. Because if for whatever reason we have the issue that we ran into where this was picking up the entire image, right? And it wasn't actually doing anything. It was giving us that. Well, I guess not quite that, but you get what I'm saying. Then you will need to use Super Select AI, and you're going to have to give Super Select AI something to apply your mask to. I don't know if I said that the best way, but if you have questions, just drop it in the comment section and I will do my best to answer that or answer those questions. But hopefully, you know, this was value added and you guys are excited. I'm going to keep testing this. I just got this, and literally everything that I was doing was for the first time with AI adaptive presets. So I think that there's more to be explored and discovered in this particular field of event, or in this thing, you know, in this feature. I just haven't gotten there yet. So I would love to hear your thoughts and your comments, your ideas. So please drop them in the comment section below. And if you are just finding me, my name's Chris. I do tutorials on ON1 Photo Raw, so you can get your photos edited faster and out into the world. Now, if you are sharing your photos out in the world on Vero, then shoot me a DM or, you know, follow me over on Vero. I'm at Free Will Photos on the Vero app. So please feel free to reach out. I'd love to connect with you and, you know, just have a conversation, kick the can about photography. And, you know, we can follow each other, all that good stuff, and have a good time. So I'll leave it there. And until next time, I want you to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.